On the issue of succession, let's hear a little bit more from Bruce Arians yesterday, explaining why it was so important for him to be able to leave at a time when he could pass the torch to one of his guys.
A number of people have already asked, why are you stepping away from a chance to go to the Hall of Fame and win another Super Bowl? Because I don't give a shit about the Hall of Fame. Succession is way more important to me. This has been my dream for a long time. Guys that know me, they knew I wanted one of my guys to take over. And that's more important to me than anything. And have a place where I could go and be welcomed back.
When you were able to assemble the coaching staff upon your original hiring, was that a discussion that you and Todd had? Was that something that you had understood between the two of you, that at some point you had hoped to give it specifically to him?
No, because I really thought he was going to be a head coach after the Super Bowl and then this past year. So it's long overdue. Just that, watching the hiring process us last year and Byron going through what he did and Todd, very fortunate for me that we could do it today. And but yeah, we do have an unbelievable coaching staff. We've got at least 4 or 5 guys and maybe 6 or 7 young guys that I think will be head coaches in this league one day.
He was actively pushing for Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles to get jobs elsewhere, which would have undermined the plan to handpick one of those 2 men to become the next head coach and have the environment that he wanted. And it would be welcoming. It will be welcoming. He'll be allowed to come back whenever he wants. It's not going to be like it's a completely different regime and they don't let him in the front door. So there's a benefit there, but the idea that he is able to ensure that one of his guys gets a chance, and a good chance, as you said earlier, not Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert as the quarterback, but Tom Brady for a year, and lay the foundation, have a better chance to stick around beyond 2022. So I understand it. Now, look, in my mind, and maybe I just missed it, but I never associated with Arians as someone who was hell-bent on walking away at a time where he knew he'd be able to hand the reins to one of his assistants. And frankly, Peter, you got to wonder at some level whether the Buccaneers are thinking, boy, we'd rather this was done back in January so we could have done a more expansive search because maybe we want to see what else is out there. And they were kind of put in a tough spot. Ownership was kind of put in a tough spot here when you think about it.
I think you're right to some degree, but there's 2 reasons why I think they probably would have settled on Bowles regardless. Number one is that the Glazer family has hired more black coaches in their history owning the team than any franchise in NFL history. They've hired 4 black coaches going back to Tony Dungy over the last 30 years and in their history. And no team in the NFL has hired more than 2 full-time black coaches. 9 teams have. They're the only ones who've done more than 2, and they've done 4. And secondly, I was told the other day that the Bucs were more interested in a smooth transition rather than, because think about this. People don't understand this. 3 or 4 years after Bill Cowher stopped coaching, whatever year that was, 06 or something. I think it was 06.
06 was his last year, yes.
Yeah, so this was maybe 10 or 11. I was talking to him once, and I said, did you ever think of getting back in? And he goes, first thing he said was, all my coaches are on other staffs now. That would really be hard. Not to mention the fact that I like my life now, but all his coaches are gone. And so imagine, Mike, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a coaching search and choose someone else, which is entirely possible, then I believe that what would have happened is the coaching staff you have now, they're going to scatter to the wind and they will go on different teams, just like every other coaching staff would. When what I was told is that internally they really like their coaching staff and they love Todd Bowles. If they had lost Todd Bowles to another head coaching job, And Arians told me he thought he was going to get the Miami job. But if they had lost Todd Bowles, that would have been a humongous loss for them. And they would have figured it out. Every team always does. But that's why I think, and I understand your point, that the organization was put in a tough spot. I think whether it was January 15th or March 30th, they were going to pick Todd Bowles.
One last thing about Bruce Arians before we take the break, too, because the general reaction to the fact that he is leaving and is gone has been not even a full shrug. The betting odds didn't change on any metric for the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
People assume they're just going to pick up where they left off. But a point Sims made yesterday that I think we need to underscore here. It's easy to take for granted a coach who does the job well on game day and never screws up. Because what do we always talk about the morning after the games? Which coach engaged in horrible clock management? Which coach made a head-scratching decision on fourth down? Which coach iced his own kicker with a timeout? I can't think of a time where Bruce Arians was that guy that we were saying, what in the hell is wrong with him? Right? And not that Todd Bowles is going to be one of those guys. But my point is, it's easy to take for granted the head coach who has it all buttoned up on game day and doesn't have those unforced errors that give us so much fodder for scrutiny and criticism the day after games.
You know, the one other thing that I kept thinking about how coaches age these days, and how when you look at it seems logical that Bruce Arians, who turns 70 later this year, that's about the time that you would think, okay, time to go play golf, or time not to work 16 hours a day anymore. Okay? But life has changed. Look at Pete Carroll. He's 70. Look at Bill Belichick. In 2 weeks, he'll be 70. And Bill Belichick said a long time ago, yeah, I can tell you, I won't be Marv Levy. I won't be coaching in my 70s or whatever. I'm paraphrasing that. I forget exactly what he said, but that's essentially what it was. And I asked Josh McDaniels at the Combine, so now that you're gone, now that you can actually talk, how much longer for Belichick? And he goes, I have no idea. He said something to me. He goes, it looks like there's no end in sight. But look, that's for some people, okay? But for Arians, and this is the point I was going to make. I think I'm right in saying that Chuck Noll was 59
Yes.
when he retired.
Yes.
Okay? Bruce Arians got his first head coaching job when he was 60. Now, that was the interim job in Indianapolis in 2012. And in that year, what basically happened is they went 9-3 under Arians. He got a job out of that with the Arizona Cardinals, and in his 60s, Bruce Arians won 95 games. His last 2 years, he went 29-10. Obviously, helped by Tom Brady a lot, but it's so interesting now to look at Chuck Noll. I think when he retired, he was the 4th or 5th winningest coach of all time. And he retired at 59. Arians didn't have his first coaching job until he was 60. And then he won 95 games after that, when Chuck Noll was long since on a sailboat along the Atlantic coast.
And there are people in the Steelers organization, this was as of 10, 15 years ago, who were confounded by the fact that after Chuck Noll left, no one ever even mentioned him as a potential candidate to coach an NFL team. He was only 59 when he left. Yeah. And here's the ultimate contrast, and then we do have to take a break. John Harbaugh is currently 59. And he seems like he's just getting started. And when we talked about his extension earlier this week, I had a vision of if you could get all at the same time, the same age, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, and John Harbaugh. Harbaugh would pick one guy up in each hand, spin them around, slam them together, and throw them 50 yards in either direction. That's the way Harbaugh is going to be when he's coaching at age 70. And the world has indeed changed. And Bruce Arians looked like he could keep going as long as he wanted to. He looks great. He looks rested, he looks healthy, and he looks like he's raring to go. And, again, NFL, go get him and get him involved in your broader league-wide efforts to improve diversity and inclusion in the coaching ranks, because I think he would have a few pointed things to say to some of these owners and other coaches.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.